All right, let's dive in, huh? Genesis chapter 9.
Oh yeah, picking up right after the flood.
Exactly. A whole new start for humanity.
Kind of a post-apocalyptic vibe, like starting from scratch.
And we've got some really interesting research on this one, different interpretations and
Oh, tons of different perspectives on this chapter.
So, okay, God makes this covenant with Noah.
Right, lays out the ground rules, so to speak.
Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, all that.
The classic mandate, yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole new element.
Eating animals.
Exactly. Permission granted, but with a catch.
No blood. What's that about?
Well, you could look at it practically.
Yeah.
Like bloodborne illness, a real concern back then.
So ancient food safety.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or it could be symbolic, blood representing life itself.
So kind of reverence, respect for the animal.
It's adding this whole other dimension to eating meat, isn't it?
And then, of course, the rainbow.
The ultimate symbol of hope.
But how it's described in the text, it's almost poetic.
I set my rainbow in the cloud.
Wow, like this divine artwork in the sky.
Imagine seeing that after the flood, this promise that it won't happen again.
That's powerful, right? But also kind of, I don't know.
What do you mean?
Well, God's promising no more floods. Implies it was possible before, right?
You're right. Raises some interesting questions.
And then there's that line about humanity's fear and dread being upon all creatures.
Okay, yeah. So are we talking dominion over nature?
Or is it more nuanced than that? Like a warning, maybe?
Right, because with power comes responsibility.
Right.
And potential for destruction.
That tension between stewardship and exploitation, still relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. Now, this next part is really interesting to me.
The image of God and its connection to murder.
Yeah, the text uses that concept to justify the law against killing.
Yeah.
Like each person has inherent value.
Wow, okay. It's a heavy concept.
And it's had a huge impact on how we think about human dignity.
Okay, so we've got this new world order, rules for humanity, and this,
This what?
Well, now the story takes a weird turn.
You mean the incident with Ham?
Yeah, it's like suddenly we're in a family drama.
It does feel a bit out of place.
So Noah plants a vineyard, makes some wine.
Enjoys the fruits of his labor.
Perhaps a bit too much. Ends up, well, uncovered in his tent.
And Ham, his son, sees him.
Instead of, discreetly covering him up.
He goes and tells his brothers.
But they react so differently.
Right, they cover Noah up respectfully without even looking.
So what's the big deal? Why is Ham's actions such a transgression?
Well, nakedness in ancient times, it had different connotations.
Not just physical.
Right. Vulnerability, shame, breaking social boundaries.
So Ham seeing his father like that and telling everyone, it's disrespectful.
Exactly. Undermining Noah's authority, even.
But here's what I don't get. The curse falls on Canaan, Ham's son.
Why not Ham himself?
Right. It's always confused me.
Well, some scholars think it's about tribal or national power dynamics.
You mean like foreshadowing future conflicts?
Possibly. The descendants of Canaan often clashed with the Israelites.
Wow. So it's not just a family squabble. This has bigger implications.
And then you have Shem and Japheth getting blessed.
Right, which has also been interpreted in different ways.
On a personal level, or maybe referring to their descendants.
It's like these stories operate on multiple levels, huh?
Definitely.
And it's important to acknowledge how these verses have been misused.
To justify terrible things, yeah. Slavery, colonialism.
It's a reminder that even sacred texts can be twisted.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Okay, so after all that drama, we get this quiet moment.
Noah becomes a farmer, plants a vineyard.
Like after the flood, the covenant, the family issues, he just goes back to basics.
It's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. This resilience, this need to cultivate, to create, even after everything.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it speaks to something fundamental about being human.
Yeah, it's like no matter what happens, we keep going.
And wine itself has so much symbolic meaning.
Oh, absolutely. It represents so many things. Joy, celebration, ritual.
It's like Noah's planting the seeds for all of that, too.
I like that. The seeds for a new beginning.
And it makes you wonder about all the layers of meaning in these stories.
It really does. Makes you want to keep digging deeper.
Yeah, it does. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on...
I mean, it's agriculture, civilization's foundation.
Yeah, it's not just about sustenance. It's about rebuilding society.
Exactly. And wine. I mean, it's loaded with symbolism.
Joy, celebration, even religious ritual. It's all there.
Layers upon layers of meaning, right?
It really makes you think, So, okay, we've got this covenant, these rules for humanity 2.0.
Right. A blueprint for a fresh start.
But how does that, I don't know, how does that apply to us today?
What do you mean?
Well, we're not facing a literal flood, but we've got our own challenges.
Climate change, environmental issues. You're right.
It feels connected somehow, doesn't it? Like our own responsibility for the planet.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
What if we were making a covenant with the earth today?
What would that look like?
What would our promises be? What sign would we choose?
It's a powerful thought, like this ancient text challenging us to think about our role.
Our own impact on the world. Yeah, it's definitely there.
It's amazing, isn't it, how much this one chapter packs in?
It's incredible. We've got divine power, human potential, family drama.
And winemaking.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget the wine. It really shows how these stories aren't just simple narratives.
There's so much more.
They really are, layered with meaning, symbolism.
And these timeless questions makes you want to keep exploring.
Absolutely. So, any final thoughts for our listeners as they ponder Genesis 9?
Well, I guess I'd just say this.
Yeah.
Remember that these ancient texts, they're living documents.
They speak to us across time.
They offer insights and challenges that are still relevant today.
Keep exploring. Keep questioning.
Yeah, you never know what you might discover.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Genesis 9. And until next time.
Keep those minds curious.
And those hearts open. I know, right? It's like we could spend weeks on this one chapter alone.
There's just so much to unpack.
And everyone brings their own perspective to it, too.
Exactly. What might seem simple on the surface can spark these amazing conversations.
Totally. And that's what I love about these deep dives. It's not just about the facts.
Right. It's about engaging with the text, asking questions, wrestling with the ideas.
Even if they're thousands of years old.
And they are surprisingly relevant, aren't they? Even in today's world.
It's almost like, I don't know, like these stories are a bridge or something.
A bridge.
Yeah, connecting us back to like the very beginnings of humanity.
Helping us understand where we come from.
Yeah.
And where we might be going.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. And maybe they can give us some guidance, too.
Guidance.
Yeah, for the challenges we face today. Who knows, maybe in a few thousand years.
People will be studying our stories.
Trying to make sense of our world.
Wow. Okay, that's a thought. But hey, that's the deep dive for you, right?
Big ideas, big questions. Hopefully some food for thought.
Definitely. So any parting words for our listeners as they continue pondering Genesis 9?
Well, I'd say this. Remember, these ancient texts, they're not static.
They're alive. They're still speaking to us.
Offering wisdom, insights, even warnings, just as relevant today as they were back then.
It's pretty incredible.
It is. So keep exploring, keep questioning.
Keep digging deeper.
You never know what you might find.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Genesis 9.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed the journey, and we'll see you next time for another exploration.
Until then, stay curious.
And keep those minds open.